Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's segment, we're going to try to get the Ferrari 360 back on the road. So in order to make that happen, I've got a few major things I got to get completed today. And first thing is we got to finish the cooling system, which is going to entail getting the last 6 tubes, the flexible rubber tubes that go up to the front radiators replaced. And that's going to entail pulling the front wheels off, fender liners, getting all that back in. Then we're going to try to recharge the cooling system, get it refilled with coolant without using an airlift system. I'm going to try to do it gravity. And I don't know how successful that'll be, but we'll give it a try. And then once the cooling system's all complete, I'm going to dive into doing the gearbox service. We're going to swap out the gearbox oil. Then we're going to jump into the engine oil. And at that point, I'm going to do a road test and we'll see if everything is good and tight. We have no leaks. And then we're going to get back into putting this car back together. So we've got a long day ahead of us. Let's see what we can get tackled and let's get started. We're now up at the front of the car. We're going to continue on with the cooling hoses. So I'm going to go ahead and break these loose up here. Change these 2 lower ones and then we'll get into the rad hoses here. Ah, good. Here is number 1. All right, we're going to try to get this second one off now. Oh, wow. There. There we go. All right. Number 2 off. All right, here's our replacement tube right here. There's number 1. Now I gotta get a towel. All right, here's the next one. Spin this thing in position. There we go. Okay, we are done. All right, so now we're done with all the lower radiator hoses. We've got only 4 left that go in the top and the bottom of the radiators up in the front, and we're going to get after that one now. All right, after removing the wheel, I actually can see this lower radiator hose right here in front of my steering rack boot. Hopefully when I remove this inside vent, I will actually get access to the upper one too. All right, we're going to take out this panel here. So I've got this first one off. It was kind of tough. This is what we're looking at, the little hose that went from there to there. This little guy. So hopefully it's not going to be as hard to put the new one back on. I'll put a little soap on there for some lube and we'll get it on there. But the next one is going to be up behind these hoses there, which is in my light. It's going to be the one up top right there where I'm pointing my finger at. You can see the clamp. So I'll get that one next. Well, I've been wrangling for about an hour, and here's what I got. So we got one tube that goes from here to here, and then there's another tube up top here. There you go, from that tube right there up to that plastic one there. So now the key is going to be getting those new ones on. So here is tube on the top, and then that shorty right over there is a tube for the bottom. So we're now on the passenger side and we've got upper radiator hose replaced here. This one. And we have the lower radiator hose replaced here. So now we're ready to button this thing up. Alright, since I drained the whole system, I went in and put 1 gallon of distilled water back in to get started. Now I'm going to put 1 gallon of the approved coolant to get a 50-50 mix. And also enable me to get a container available that I can mix a 50-50 in. I'm just hoping we don't have any leaks. Okay. It'll take a little while for this stuff to drain in. Fresh coolant. Need to get this thing lifted up and get the wheels off the back. Okay, let's get the wheels off. All right, now that I've got the wheel off, I got to pull this panel right here to get access to the bolts that are going to pull this rear bumper off. We're going to go ahead and do the other side first, and then come back and then start taking the bumper off. Time to get this side off. So we got to remove these two screws and remove this panel. Man, that damn protective film there looks pretty nasty. I think that's going to be on my list to redo. And here are our 12mm nuts we got to pull off. Nope, not working. That might be a friggin' 13. I need to undo the wiring harness here for this clearance light. Alright, now we're going to very carefully undo the other brackets on the frame. Let's see, very carefully pull this thing back. Here is the rear light assembly. Okay. Come on. There it is. Okay. Alright, so now that I got the bumper off, I gotta put the wheels back on so I can get it off the bridge jack and get the thing lowered back down level so I can do all the fluid service. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now versus fighting it later. Alright, one down. Well, you remember that K40 radar detector I was talking about early on? Here's the back sensor right here. So we don't need this bad boy, so it's going away. And I will trace this wire back up through and pull it out of the body as I get to it. Right now I'm just going to pull this thing, disconnect it, so I can pull it on through and get rid of the sensor. This thing is long since gone. So now I've got all the coolant belts done and everything hooked up on the engine there. I've refilled it with as much coolant as I can, but I got to wait till I can start this thing up and run it to get the air out of the system and check for leaks. So I'm going to go ahead and do the transmission, and we're going to do the motor oil. Oh God, that sucker is on there, isn't it? Wow, it's actually pretty clean. So let's see how much muck is on the, not too bad on the magnet. There's a little bit of metallic on there. Yep, there goes the copper washer. And replace that thing. Now we got that done, we got to go ahead and pull out the filter, clean the filter screen. That was almost loose. Here it comes. A little coercion. Ooh. I guess it's better to catch it on the filter screen. get a picture of that. Well, my hex won't let me get a wrench on it. It's too tall, so I have to improvise. Oh God, that's tough. Man. And here's our dipstick. Pretty easy read. We're gonna let this drain for a little bit longer, and then I'll come back and we'll put the plug back in, the filter back in, and we'll start putting the fluids in. Sump plug going back in. All right, torque wrench. There we go. Little moly coat grease on my O-ring. Makes the O-ring swell a little bit. Yeah. Helps it seal up. There we go.
There she is.
Not bad. A little screw back in there. There we go. All right, now time to fill it up. All right, here we go with the fluid. All right, this is a lot easier than pumping it in. Somebody finally got smart.
Yeah.
Look at that, man. The whole thing in there. All right, one down. Port number 2. Wow. All right, here's number 3. Before I put the 4th one in, I'm going to take a reading, just check it, see where we are.
Okay.
This is shit all over it. All right, let's see what we are with 3. We just dip it in there. Showing I'm a little bit over max.
With 3?
Yeah.
Or is it
Barely.
barely still wet in the...
I wonder if it's working its way in the system.
That's probably...
So we'll let it sit for a little bit. Get ready to dive into the motor oil. I'm just going to put this dipstick in there. Let it sit.
Where did you go?
Going after the oil now. Yeah, stuff looks pretty cool. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's see how the plug looks. So that's the back drain plug. There's another front drain plug we got to hit. Here's the front one up here. Oh, of course they changed. The front one's different.
No way.
Can you hand me that bigger one back there? I used to pull the tranny sump right there.
Where? Oh, this one?
I think it might be that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. There we go. That's one there. Here comes the front.
Fun one.
This one's gonna be gusher. Not too bad. Yeah, this doesn't look like it doesn't have a magnet on it.
Wait, it just pulses. I would have thought it just streamed out.
Well, it probably would have helped if I opened up the filler cap up top.
Ah.
Come on. Okay, at this point we're going to get the oil filter replaced and then refill the oil. So I got this oil filter here, which has got the Ferrari logo on it. Ouch. And then I had to order this special tool here from Hill Engineering. If you look at this guy, it's serrated and it mates up with the filter very nicely right there, and will enable us to get the filter off without destroying it and putting a new one on without mangling it as well. So let me just show you where this filter is. So it's hard to see, but the filter actually resides right straight down below the power steering reservoir. It's down in here, so I'm going to have to come in on this side over here and then put the tool up on top of that and get it free, and then pull the filter out through the side. And then once I do that, get that swapped out, and come back in and top up the oil. I'm also going to swap out to this Euro Formula Royal Purple. I've been a Royal Purple fan for quite a while. I like this stuff, so we're going to put this back in the car. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, I'm going to bring you down up underneath here so I can show you where that oil filter is sitting. There it is. So it's going to be tight. I don't think I'm going to be able to get the camera in here and show getting that thing off, but you can at least see where it is. So let's get that off right now. First, try to get the filter removal tool back underneath here. Okay, there we go. Not so bad. Okay. Ah, goodness. There we go. I think we're good now. I can get it off of my hand. Okay. All right. Let me get something to catch that filter in. So now I'm going to attempt to get this one hand threaded on. Okay. Okay. I got to do it this way manually. Okay, come on, come on. Why are you arguing with me? A little bit at a time. Okay, that's it. All right, get that thing off there. All right, the filter is on now. Okay, time to get all the oil in here. Oh, wrong one. Okay, get these down where I can count them. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna stop shy of this last quart by about half a quart so I can check it with the engine running. Make sure I don't overfill it. Overfilling it's supposed to be pretty bad news. Apparently if you overfill it, it'll suck oil up into the little sides of the plenum there. It'll reside there and make nothing but a mess. So we don't want to do that. All right, these paper towels. All right, mop up my little mess here. And the oil actually is purple, isn't it cool? Okay, all right, so at this point I've got engine oil in, filters in, we're looking good. After a lot of time, I finally got the car back together mechanically, so now I'm getting ready to put back all of the decorative stuff, the bumper and the inside access panel, the carpet, the speakers, the passenger seat, and the little mini glove box behind there, get that all done. But let me tell you, getting there was brutal. When I got to doing the thermostat, I thought I'd be good and order another one. Since I already had everything apart, I'm like, okay, let's just do the thermostat. It's a $50 item and the O-rings. So when I had it on the workbench, I went ahead and put the new thermostat in and the new O-rings and got everything mounted on the car, and friggin' had leaks. So while it was in the car, I actually got the thermostat housing off, and I tried to use some Sealtex aviation sealant, gasket sealant that I've used on the 308 water pump and stuff, and the stuff's bulletproof usually. And I reseated it, and then me and my buddy fired the car up after about an hour, and then, because they had no instructions on the sealant, it started oozing out with the engine temperature and started leaking coolant. So I let it sit overnight. The next day I got in and I pulled that thing off, cleaned it all up, and put it back together, and still had a leak. So I was thinking, well, you know, let me look at it. So I broke it back apart, and I noticed that the new Ferrari O-ring was just a little bit different than the one that came out of there. It was actually a little skinnier. So I thought, what could it hurt? You know, it'll take me an hour. Let me try to put the old one back in. So I got the old O-ring and put it back in underneath the thermostat, and then put the moly grease on there, and put the smaller O-ring on top of the thermostat, set it in place, tightened up, and fired it up. It seems to be holding. I did get a little bit of the grease kind of bubbling up, coming out the seam, because I put quite a bit in there. And I wiped that up, cleaned it up, and took the car for a test drive with the service panel off, and it looks fine. So I've checked everything everywhere else for leaks with my bore scope up under the plenums to make sure that I've got the heat exchanger all snug, and I do. So the other issue I ran into was also bleeding the coolant system. So if you don't have one of those airlift tools, get one, because trying to bleed it without it's a nightmare. And when you fire the car up, the air goes to the top of the radiator, and that's where your fan sensors are. So if the fan sensor, temperature sensor, doesn't get the water on it, it will not register that the car is hot and to turn it on. So I noticed that my temperature kept rising up and the fans weren't coming on. So that's another story. So I got my liquid extractor, and I pulled the two hoses off the coolant tank, and I hooked that up and just sucked the air out with my extractor. And just like bleeding the brakes, I did it like I was bleeding the brakes. I hooked it up, and I just turned that thing on until I saw pure coolant coming out. And I kept topping off my tank, my coolant tank, and it worked. So I got all the air out of the system. I drove it, everything was great. So now we're finally on to getting the bumper and everything back on the car. And we're gonna go ahead and get this put back up and double check it. My only little snafu I've had is now my gas gauge is showing it's empty. So I drove it to the gas station, put some gas in it, filled it up. It's not empty. So I think my sensor wire might have popped off on the sending unit on the driver's side. So we might have to go in and take a look at that. So anyway, let's get started on getting this bumper back in. Alright, taking my little wire. All my wires are ready to hook up. So now I've got my brackets lined up. I can go ahead and hook up my lamps. So there's my plate illumination lamp. Alright, get the lamps over here done. There we go. Bumper's fiberglass, quite heavy. I'm gonna put these screws on here just so this thing doesn't come down. Now we're gonna do the other side. All right, here we are on the passenger side. Go ahead and get this outer plate on, just in case. All right, there's the frontmost bolt. Let's go for the back one. Okay. Now I got them up, I gotta get that thing pivoted, so looks like I need to snug the bolts ever so slightly with the wrench. Then we can adjust it. So I've snugged up the one close to the front so I can pivot the back. Okay, I'm gonna go do the other side real quick. So now I got the other one on the other side snugged a little bit. I'm checking my alignment here, front to back. So when I pick up the back, this point here won't touch. There we go. It's looking pretty good. All right, now we're going to get the fender liners back in. There we go. I'm on this side, we're going to get the wheel on. Torque them up when we get it back on the lift. Now we're ready for the other side. All right, here we go on the other side. Okay, ready for the tire. Okay, number 2. All right, let's get the car down and we can start getting on the interior now. All right, here we go. Put everything back. This comes up over here. This feeds the electrical to the glove box. Now we're going to put in the covers over all the fuses and the relays. Okay, so here's the ultimate test. The car is now off the lift. And I'm going to take it for its first test drive since it's all put back together. I have changed my shoes to official Ferrari driving shoes. Since my feet have been in those tennis shoes all day and are aching, I figured I'd change and give them a break. And I've got my co-pilot with me. I've got Gracie, the diva dog here. She's going to be riding co-pilot with me. So we're getting ready to take off and give the car a run and see what it does. Look out. Ready, girl? Here we go. F1 pump is going. So far, so good. Temperature's just starting to come up. So I'm just going to stay on these slow streets here for a little bit until it gets up to temperature, and then we're going to take it for a little more spirited run. Looks like we're about 180 degrees right now in Thermostat. So far, everything's looking good. Speed limits. Temperature's running about 200, 205. The oil temp looks like it's about, I'm guessing 140. Is that right? It's looking good so far. No smell of coolant, so I think we're okay. Let's take a look in the back. Let's take a look. So far, everything's tight. Looks good. Yeah, look at that. Well, the first test drive was a success, and tomorrow will be a true indicator. We're going to do about 100+ miles going to Fredericksburg for breakfast in the morning, and we'll see how it handles. But right then, I mean, I probably did 8 miles, 10 miles on that loop out and back, and so far I think everything's okay. No sign of coolant leaks on the garage floor or in the engine bay. I think we're good, but tomorrow will be the true tell, so let's see. If you like the video, please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.